All right, let's dive into a topic that is absolutely critical for any VMware setup. But, it can also feel a little mysterious. vSphere Admission Control. We're going to pull back the curtain and make it super clear what this thing is and why it matters so much. So picture this. Your cluster is running like a dream. Everything's stable, performance is amazing, things are just good. But have you ever stopped to think, what's the plan for when things, well, go wrong? What happens when that unexpected disaster finally strikes? Because really, in the world of virtualization, that's all it takes. A single physical host goes down, and suddenly you've got this massive domino effect on your hands. It could take down your most critical virtual machines if you're not ready for it, and that is the exact problem we're here to solve. So we're kicking things off with a pretty high-stakes scenario. Let's just imagine for a second that one of your big server hosts just blinks offline. Poof, it's gone. What happens to all the virtual machines that were running on it? Where do they go? Is there even a safe place for them to land? This is the kind of crisis we are trying to get ahead of. And that brings us to the hero of our story, the failover safeguard. Think of vSphere Admission Control as this: proactive guardian for your cluster. Its entire job is to make sure that a single failure doesn't spiral into a total catastrophe. Okay, so what is it exactly? Well, the official textbook definition says it's a feature that guarantees sufficient cluster resources, we're talking CPU and memory, are reserved to restart virtual machines if a host fails. The key word there is guarantees. But let's be honest, that's a bit dry. Let's break it down into something that actually makes sense. Honestly, the absolute best way to think about admission control is as the lifeboat policy for your entire virtual environment. Your cluster is the giant ship, and all your virtual machines are the passengers. This policy just makes sure you are always, always ready for an emergency. And this lifeboat policy has two incredibly important jobs. First, it guarantees failover capacity. In our little story, this just means it makes sure there are always enough empty seats in the lifeboats. Simple. Second, it prevents overcommitment. It's basically the person at the gate who stops you from letting so many passengers on the ship that you'd run out of lifeboat seats if something bad happened. Now, there isn't just one single way to enforce this lifeboat policy. Nope, vSphere actually gives you 3 different ways to go about it, each with its own strategy for managing your resources. Let's take a quick look at what they are. This table does a perfect job of putting it all together. First up, you've got host failures tolerated. This is where you just tell it, hey, I need to be able to survive 1 host failure, or maybe 2. It's like saying, we need enough lifeboats in case 1 or 2 sections of the ship sink. Then there's the percentage policy. This one's even easier. You just reserve a flat percentage of your cluster's resources. Think of it as just always keeping 20% of your lifeboat seats empty and ready to go. And finally, you have the slot policy. This one's the most specific. It actually calculates the size of your biggest VMs and makes sure enough slots of that size are always free. It's like counting every single passenger and making sure each one has a specific named seat waiting for them in a lifeboat. Okay, so we know the policies, but how does this thing actually make its decisions from moment to moment? Well, the good news is the logic is actually super direct and predictable. It's not some big mystery. Here's how it thinks in 3 really simple steps. First, a request comes in. Somebody somewhere wants to power on a new virtual machine. Second, admission control instantly pulls out its rulebook, whichever policy you picked, and it does a quick calculation to see if there's enough emergency capacity left over. And third, based on that math, it makes a simple yes or no decision. Either it allows the VM to power on or it blocks it. That's it. And this right here, this is the whole point. If turning on that new VM means you wouldn't have enough seats left in the lifeboats, if it breaks the rules of your own policy, vCenter just puts its foot down and says nope. It blocks the operation, all to protect that high availability promise you've made. It's your cluster's essential gatekeeper. So, all of this brings us to the final, and honestly the most important takeaway from this whole thing. If you remember only one thing about vSphere admission control, please let it be this. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This comes straight from the source. The official recommendation is to keep admission control enabled. Period. Why? To make sure that high availability you've worked so hard for is actually, available when you need it the most. Turning this thing off is kind of like setting sail without any lifeboats. Everything seems fine, right? Right up until the moment it's really, really not. So, when you get right down to it, admission control isn't just some checkbox setting, it's your cluster's survival plan. And that really just leaves us with one final crucial question you should ask about your own environment. Is your lifeboat policy ready?